RFDTV, we know that our viewers are animal lovers, from dogs to cats to horses to cattle. Our viewers love and own them all. Well, tonight we'll introduce you to a line of unique science-based products from Tomlin Veterinary Science to help you take better care of your animals. Good evening and welcome to Rural America Live. I'm Marlon Bowling. Tonight we'd like to welcome Dr. Eric Alsop and Dr. Jim Lowe from Medicated Animal Health back to RFDTV. We'll be talking about Tomlin for the first time here on Rural America Live. And gentlemen, it's glad to have you back with us once again.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Just to get you folks familiar with our audience tonight, Eric, I thought maybe you could introduce yourself, or in this case, reintroduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your background.
Great. Thanks very much. I grew up in the rural part of northwest Kansas, working on farms and ranches and raising animals. Went to school, undergrad and veterinary school at Kansas State, practiced for several years in a very family-involved practice. And as we raise kids in that environment, we're always involved in 4-H, FFA, always dogs and cats running around. Family and pets and livestock and horses have been very much the way our family's been built together.
Well, very good. And Jim, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being with us as well. Share a little background about yourself.
Well, I grew up in southeastern New Mexico. My father was in the military, but then entered the oil field, and so from there we ended up in Texas. I did both my undergrad and my veterinary school at Texas A&M University. I practiced for 18 years in various practices from Texas to Montana to Kansas to Arkansas. My wife is a veterinary technician, still works in a practice in Florida. We have a 7-year-old daughter who has 4 cats and a lazy bulldog and a horse. And I've been with the company now 4 years, providing technical services for both Medicated and Tomlin.
Well, glad to have both of you with us. And Eric, if you would, I wanted to take this opportunity and have you share a little bit about Tomlin Veterinary Service.
Well, I'd love to.
Or science, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'd love to. Tomlin Veterinary Science is the animal owner division of Medicated. Dr. Lowe and I have both been on the program before talking about Medicated products, which are really, the Medicated line is focused at the veterinarian to reach the animal owner and the animal eventually through the veterinarian on products that need that kind of consultation, that kind of involvement. Tomlin is the division that balances that in a total holistic approach to animal health and wellness by creating products that are very much focused at the animal owner. Not only the formulations, but the communication, the packaging, everything about Tomlin is for the animal owner. So Tomlin was started more than 40 years ago by a veterinarian named Tom and his wife named Lynn, much as Dr. Lowe and I have had very much family involvement, our wives' involvement in our practices. But as they looked at their own pets and what was available for them, for nutritionally, they were very dissatisfied. Remember, this was 40-some years ago, and they were very dissatisfied with what was out there. So Dr. Tom and Lynn started to develop their own products, and were very successful at it. Eventually, several years ago, Tomlin became part of Medicated and has been ever since. But the traditions of veterinary involvement, products designed and developed with veterinary science behind them, the family ownership, Medicated is a family-owned company. So although things have changed and grown tremendously over the years, very much about the origin of Tomlin still remains in its role in Medicated today.
Jim, excuse me, Jim, you and I were talking before the program came on air here, and you were telling me about a few of the products that actually pioneered Tomlin and got them underway. You might explain what those were.
Absolutely. First and foremost, I think is what we now refer to as a high-energy supplement, but for probably 30 years or more has been known as Nutri-Cal. Nutri-Cal is simply just that, energy in a tube. So we just think about this as extra calories, whether it's for puppies that need additional nourishment, but what sometimes people don't think about are perhaps working dogs or dogs we take to the field on the weekends, or dogs that we just really want to supplement with a little extra energy boost before working those cows. So it's just something that we can really think of as energy in a tube. And as you can see, we have it for both dogs and cats and actually ferrets as well.
Well, there are a few products, as you mentioned, but I just wondered if you have any favorites that you'd like to recommend to our viewers on tonight's program here.
Well, I think still one of the classics as well is what we used to refer to as Laxatone, or the Hairball Remedy. And one of the things we've done as a company with Tomlin is make it readily apparent to the client when they come into the store. If they need a product to fix hairballs in their cats, they can look for that Hairball Remedy. Multiple flavors, an all-natural product, again, to try to ball up that hair material and allow it to pass safely into the litter box versus being found in the middle of the kitchen floor or something. I think another important thing to remember about Tomlin is the NASC labeling you'll see on many of our products. The National Animal Supplements Council was an attempt by the animal health industry to put some standards on it. We unfortunately know on the human side of things with supplements, those standards, those regulations just aren't there. And people can see if they look and do some research on the National Animal Supplement Council, they'll see what we have to do to become members of that. We're audited as far as the quality of our products, what we say on our labels, the quality of our manufacturing practices. So besides the veterinary aspect of our products, we also have the integrity of that NASC label.
Now, you have a joint and hip product. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. We have one called just that, joint and hip. Again, trying to make it as easy as we can for that owner when they walk into that store. And with very high levels of glucosamines, with omega-3 fatty acids, one thing we do to go kind of above and beyond is use a product called Perna, which is the green lip mussel, which is a mussel actually grown off the seabeds of New Zealand under very strict environmental control. When these mussels are harvested, they are immediately freeze-dried to preserve the integrity of that product. That is our source of chondroitin, but with that we get additional fatty acids, additional amounts of products that can relieve the discomfort in these animals. So very high level of those as well.
Sounds like I could use that myself.
Yeah, and it's something we certainly look at the quality of life of these animals, and we start to see, again, even these old cattle dogs that we have the favorite one that just doesn't get around as quickly. Very nicely fits into those sort of therapy regimens in dogs like that.
So you have another one that's called Relax and Calm. What is that?
We do, addressing what is increasingly on everybody's mind, and that's behavioral issues in their pets. We have the Relax and Calm product, which actually comes as a treat. It's a very easily to break and administer treat. And just the fact that it's just a treat makes it easy. Many times if we have a very scared cat or dog, it may be very difficult to give them a pill. For instance, so just the fact that it's a treat, but it contains chamomile, which is known for ages to be very soothing. It contains L-tryptophan. L-tryptophan is something that kind of gives us a sense of well-being as well. And we also add ginger. Ginger, since Chinese medicine thousands of years ago, has been known to be soothing to the stomach. So those animals that get a little car sick and stuff, ginger seems to help as well.
And you have a pre and a probiotic?
We do. I think even our large animal listeners are comfortable with probiotics and what they can do to supplement the immune system of animals. And we have one for dogs and cats formulated in these small packets there. So we have to remember that these organisms are live, they're fragile, they need to be treated very well. So when they're exposed to air for too long, if they get wet, they begin to degrade very readily. So we have perhaps the highest levels of what we call colony-forming units in these products, 8 billion, that's with a B in the dogs, and 4 billion in cats of these microorganisms, again, to maintain and promote a healthy gut environment. Another interesting thing is you'll notice there we also have a prebiotic, which is basically a nutritional source for the probiotic. So we actually in one product can give both of those in individual packets, so you know you're getting a fresh sample each time.
Well, you have such a wide array of products that your company produces, and Eric, I know you have a few more that are geared just for small animals, right?
Yeah, we all have our favorites. For me, it really comes down to I love products that have science and a story to them, and I love the products in the Tomlin line. We're really focused on trying to make life better for the animal and the animal owners. So in addition to the ones Jim's talked about, some favorites of mine, we have an L-Lysine product for cats. That L-Lysine has been found to be a real aid for cats in fighting off viruses. So it's a great immune supplement to help a cat, especially against viral diseases. We have, here's one of my favorites right here. Any of us who have had dogs and cats have had to give pills at one time or another, and had a lot of difficulty with some of them giving them. Now we make as many of our products as possible in a chewable, palatable form, but sometimes that just isn't an option. Mm-hmm. We have capsules, they're just things they won't take. But I'll tell you with this one, this is a really fun product because this one just kind of has a Play-Doh consistency to it,
Okay.
but it has a bacon flavor. And when you take some out and wrap it around any pill, it changes that from something they don't want to even think about to something they'll take out of your hand, or at home, we give it without a pill in it as a treat to get them used to it.
Now, that's
And then,
an
boy,
idea.
when the pills come out, you don't have to talk the dog into it. They're sitting up, doing anything they can to get that with the pill master on it. So it's one that's become a real favorite of mine.
I used to have a Great Pyrenees puppy,
Oh, yeah.
and every once in a while I'd have to give it some medications, in a pill form like that. But she had an uncanny knack for working it out of there, somehow, and that would be excellent for that.
Well, some of the others, competitive products, aren't actually formed around the pill. They're a pocket that they can work the pill out of. These, and if you do that little trick ahead of time to make it a treat, they just assume it's a treat and swallow it right down. It's been neat for me because we also have cats, and cats can be particularly finicky, and it works for them as well. Now, you had a Great Pyrenees. Is it a working outside dog all the time?
Well, it was just a family dog for a while.
Yeah.
Since I moved to the job in Nashville, I had to find an adopted home for it because I didn't have enough room for it. But I love that dog so much.
Well, the reason I ask is because real working dogs like that often have pad problems.
Right.
In the middle of winter, when the pads are cracking and you can even see them really getting raw, we have products, a pad product that really helps soothe and heal those. We have products, Great Pyrenees can have ear and skin problems.
Right.
So we've really addressed our product line to hit the key problems that animals and their owners have to deal with day in and day out.
Also wanted to let our viewers know that they can also visit a special website tonight, and they can go to Tomlyn.com, that's TOMLYN.com/RFDTV, and you can actually win some prizes. So I just wanted to pass that along for our viewers out there at home. They can take part in that during tonight's show. So wanted to mention that. Jim, you were telling me also about a natural line of products that you had, and I wanted to, if you had time to elaborate on that before we get into a break.
Absolutely. Again, we recognize that there are all different sorts of modalities to support these animals with their health. We know that homeopathic medicine is being increasingly examined as far as its effectiveness. We know that people have expectations to have the option of examining those alternatives. And so we the natural pet products, as you can see here, that address a wide variety of issues. And certainly there is a lot of science behind these products. And the nice thing about our line is the safety of these products. There's no sugar or alcohols in these products. They can very readily be mixed with water. And homeopathy as it is such that if you have multiple animals in a household, for instance, only those that need the medication receive those benefits. An animal that says drinks out of the same water bowl that doesn't need that benefit is going to receive no harm. So it's increasingly interesting to me, especially coming from more conventional veterinary medicine, as I further understand it. And it's nice that we can offer that alternative because, again, we know owners, when they're going out for their own health needs, are looking for those alternatives.
Yeah, that's getting more and more popular, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
These days. All right, and once again, I do want to remind you about that special website tonight. You can go to Tomlyn.com/RFDTV for registering for prizes during tonight's program. Now, before we go to the break, we're going to open up our phone line. So jot this down, grab a pen, and here is the number if you want to write it down. You can call during our program right now, that toll-free number, and it is toll-free. It's 877-731-6733. I'll read that again. That's 877-731-6733. You can call in now with your questions or your comments about your pets and livestock. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back to Rural America Live. We are here with our very special guest, Dr. Eric Alsop, the General Manager of Tomlyn, and Dr. Jim Lowe, the Technical Services Manager of Tomlyn, part of Medicated Animal Health. And tonight we're talking about Tomlyn. Our phone lines are open, and again, in case you didn't have a chance to jot it down before we got to the break, or if you just tuned in, here is the number. It's a toll-free number. If you have some veterinarian-related questions, you can call in. That number, 877 877-731-6733. Again, 877-731-6733. Call in with your questions right now during the program. And in fact, we have a caller on the line right now, I believe. Jared is calling in from Illinois. Thanks for calling in right off the bat there, Jared. Appreciate it. Are you there, Jared?
Yep. Hi there. How
There
you
you
doing?
are. All right. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Doing great. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. What's your question?
Well, I heard you guys talking about that cat hairball thing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't it be the darndest thing, but my cat, I mean, it's got hairballs more than usual lately.
And are you wanting the recommendation on the product for that then?
I guess that's what I'm looking for. Yep.
There you go.
Yes,
Tim?
sir. Those Hairball Remedies come in a variety of flavors. So, and it's a gel, easily administered. The administration recommendations are on there. So certainly, it may just be picking the one that seems most appropriate taste-wise for your cat. But certainly, that's the first place to start. There can be other indications that you might want to visit with your veterinarian about if the troubles persist. But certainly, we try to give you as many options there to find one that works best for your cat.
And what's the typical dose there, Jim?
Oh, really? I think it's about it. I don't even usually measure it too much, but it's just a small dab, maybe a 1/4-inch strip that you can allow. Usually they'll lick it, you can apply it directly on their food. Some of them like giving it directly in their mouth. There's about as many ways of giving it as we probably have time for callers tonight. Yes.
All right.
We have a couple long-haired cats, and we just put some on their paw, and they end up licking it right off their paw because they
Is that
like
right?
the taste. They like to clean themselves. That's another product
Really?
design that just really fits the needs of the owner and the pet. So it makes it very easy to treat and then prevent hairballs in cats.
Now, see, that's why you're a veterinarian and an animal specialist. I wouldn't have thought of that. But it actually works. That's
It
interesting.
works very well, yeah.
You can put it on their paw.
Just
Wow.
put it on the paw, and between the good flavor and just wanting to stay clean, you can pretty well be assured they're going to get it ingested.
And the missus just doesn't want you letting him walk all over the house on the
Exactly.
carpet then
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
All right. All right. Well, Eric, I wanted to ask you about the Tomlin products, and you actually have kind of a new twist on that because you have some products for larger animals now too.
Right. So our focus was always to have that total holistic approach, and we've expanded that this year to the large animals, making a product lines available for those with livestock and horses.
Mm-hmm. So tell me more about that.
Well, we have the product line that I think is very interesting we've brought forward is called the EPIC product line. EPIC stands for Egg Proteins in Complex.
Okay.
The neat thing about this product line, it actually goes back, you hear me talk a lot about traditions carrying forward. There's been a long time tradition on dairy farms of giving sick calves eggs because a lot of the farms were, before we became so specialized, a farm would have the hens and the cattle and raise some pigs too. But there was something they didn't know quite why, but they knew that those sick calves that weren't getting better, with diarrhea, the things that calves have if they don't quite get enough immune support from colostrum, that they seem to respond at times to just giving them raw eggs. And as we turned again from story into science and looked into it, the neat thing about all this is that the antibodies in the guts, let's say a calf has E. coli causing diarrhea. Well, if you can put an immunoglobulin or an antibody in that gut, it doesn't actually matter what species that came from because it just acts within the gut, binds to the pathogen, E. coli or other, and binds that, kills the pathogen, makes it harmless to the animal. So that it's fascinating to me that we can hyperimmunize some hens, have them lay eggs with a high concentration of these immunoglobulins and protect a calf.
I would never have guessed that. That's extremely interesting.
That's what's so fun.
And so now you have this EPIC line of products, and it's already available to the public, right?
Yes, we just have launched it to the public this year.
Okay.
It was given, again, our total approach. It was available through veterinarians in the past, and now this year it's available to the public.
So tell us more about the line of products that involve EPIC.
So there's EPIC products, and we'll be bringing more as time goes on. But we're focused right now on the immune products to support calves. Mm-hmm. There's also an EPIC product, an EPIC Daily to support horses under times of stress.
Really?
Yeah, I think, Jim, you want to go into it a little more in
absolutely.
some of the technical details?
Sure. I think for us, what we primarily and initially are focused on are calves and scours. We know that neonatal scours in calves are probably the #1 cause of death in calves. Things like E. coli can strike a calf as young as 1 week of age and cause horrible sickness and death. So what we've tried to do is address in basically 3 stages how we can potentially prevent those infections, how certainly we can support that calf when he's suffering from the scours, and perhaps replenish him after that event. And so again, we know that these egg proteins or immunoglobulins that we have that are coming from hens that have been custom vaccinated for the pathogens that we know cause or are most likely to cause scours. We can hyperimmunize these hens and administer these antibodies to these calves directly. It's really a form of what we call passive immunity. Everybody's comfortable with active immunity being where we vaccinate an animal with a bug and have that animal produce its own antibodies. Well, this is more what we call a passive immunity, where we make preformed antibodies and administer them directly to the calf. So inside that gut, we can potentially bind up these bacteria before they're able to replicate or attach or make the toxins that are going to cause the problems in these calves. So it's a way for us to, in the case of the immune product, to support this calf in its early stages where it may not have gotten full protection from the colostrum.
Interesting stuff.
Well,
go ahead.
People who raise calves know that they're not born with the ability to create that active immunity. They don't respond to a vaccine. They don't have an active immune system when they're born. So this product doesn't replace colostrum. That's the most important thing they have to get is colostrum in their first 24 to 48 hours. But this product, calf immune support, is going to give them extra immunoglobulins focused right at the most common pathogens, the most common bacteria that can cause diarrhea in those calves, and really give them an extra boost.
And I think that's important because I know from experience, you have calves that are weak. You have calves that don't suckle as much as we'd like that first 12 to 24 hours. We have heifers that aren't always the best mothers. We have cows, older cows that don't have the best conformation of their udders, so it's very difficult for that calf to nurse. Certainly we appreciate the best form of immunity that calf can receive in that first 12 to 24 hours is from mother. But what we're trying to do is provide additional support where there might be some hitches in perhaps the calf's ability to suckle or perhaps the vaccination history of mom who produced the initial colostral antibodies.
All right, well, very good. And actually, we have a special guest calling in from Aledo, Texas. David Markath, an ag teacher from Aledo Independent School District. He's here to talk about his experience with the EPIC products. Thanks for joining us, David. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Glad to be on with you.
All right, well, let's talk about your experience that you have had with the EPIC product so far.
Well, we've used the EPIC product line so far, and we've had much success with the use of EPIC, the calf scour formula. It's dramatically shortened the rebound time on calves with scours and clearing them up and getting them recovered. For us, it was really an unreal experience how much faster those calves get back on feed and get back nursing and get back feeling a whole lot better. We've used the EPIC calf electrolyte, and it's been beneficial to our cattle when hauling them or hot, stressful times, or really any time we put a bunch of stress on these calves, especially in the Texas summer months. It's done a fantastic job during these times of stress of weaning and sickness. These calves that have been on electrolytes seem to have thrived more than their counterparts and that have not been on the product, and made great strides to once again continuing to nurse and eat and drink at various stages of their lives. The cattle seem to love the flavoring that's in that electrolyte, and they don't really seem to shy away from it.
Well, that's interesting to hear. I appreciate you calling in, Eric. I assume you probably have heard more stories like that.
Well, I wanted to go a little further with David. Mm-hmm. And David, as an ag teacher, I'm sure you're very involved. You're involved, I know, with FFA and calf shows. Are you using these products also with those show animals in the stress of the summer shows?
You bet, sir. We've been using them on some of our calves during the summertime, and they just seem to take the haul better and don't struggle to get back to eating and drinking once they get to a show. The Texas heat's really tough on them. You know, it can be 100, 105 degrees here just outside Fort Worth, and it can be really challenging and really be a stressful time on those calves. And like with FFA and 4-H projects, that it's real important for those things to look right. And this is one of those products that we've used to help those calves feel right and feel comfortable and get back on feed and drink water as quickly as possible.
Well, thank you, David. We sure appreciate you calling in to share that with us, and good luck in this year's shows.
Thank you, sir.
Good, good phone call. Thanks for calling in, David. Good to have you with us, and thanks for trying out the products as well. So it's a good testimonial as far as the quality of the product and the success they've had already this summer.
Yeah, I live fairly close to Aledo myself, and anybody down in Texas knows that during the show season, one of the worst things you fight is heat. And one of the things that really hits animals in that heat is dehydration. They're not taking in enough water, and they're not taking in enough of the key electrolytes. So that electrolyte formula is really essential to help them get through that, to stay hydrated, encourage them to drink more water. And that, along with the Epic products, helps them in that time of stress when they just need a little extra boost.
And appreciate the comments on that. I want to pass along one more time our toll-free phone number in case you want to call in. Here it is if you want to write it down if you're just tuning in. It's 877-731-6733, and you're welcome to call us right now, and you can talk with Jim or Eric. Jim, you were telling me before the show here that scours happens to be the #1 killer of young calves. Now, explain why that is, and actually what causes that in the first place here.
Well, it sure seems to be, and again, we're talking about especially in neonatal calves or newborn calves, because again, they're so dependent on that immunity they may or may not receive from the mother, and if they don't suckle sufficiently, again, as we discussed, if there's conformational issues in that udder. But even more importantly, the vaccinations that mom may have received. If she's never been exposed to these pathogens, if she was never vaccinated for things like E. coli, then she's not generating those antibodies that we need to be transferred through. So you may have a calf that's born with a very suppressed immune system with no protection into sometimes unsanitary environments or environments where these organisms are endemic, and they just have no protection. They're dependent on their mother for all the energy they get and the warmth they're getting, and if they don't get those two things, couple that with a naive immune system, it can really be a recipe for a lot of sickness.
And you were telling me you have a 3-step process then?
We really do. We try to address it, and certainly we want to try to, with the immune support, try to prevent this from happening in the first place. And so we hope that calf receives adequate colostrum from mom to cover all the bases, because it is the best form of immunity. But the immune support is going to provide additional immune support within the gut. We know that these organisms can be bound, they can be prevented from replicating, and we can prevent them inside the gut from making many of the toxins that can cause them morbidity, I should say. Secondly, we have a scour defense product, and certainly once this animal is afflicted, we want to make sure we support it on various levels. There are a lot of scour products out there that may simply come in a jug form and you pour it down them or tube them with it. It just kind of stops the flow of the diarrhea, but really doesn't address some of the other things that are going on. The thing about the Epic is it does provide that internal immune boost with those egg proteins, but it also contains electrolytes in and of itself. It contains probiotics to try to reinoculate that gut with good organisms. It contains a buffer in there. We know these calves are systemically on the acidic side because of their illness, and that promotes further infection and further weakness in them, so we put an antacid in there. We also have 2 products in there, a charcoal and a yeast to try to absorb these toxins. It's these toxins many times, especially something like E. coli, that may ultimately be the cause of death, so we're trying to bind as much of those toxins up as we can. There's also a source of dextrose in there. Again, a weak calf that's not nourishing enough, we want to try to maintain its strength, keep its weight up, so we provide dextrose as well. So it's a full, you're treating multiple symptoms in one product versus perhaps just giving them something to try to somewhat stem the flow of the scours. And then lastly, we would certainly like to replenish that calf. Maybe after we've got them over the scours themselves, we can rehydrate them with the electrolytes, with the added benefit of the immune protection added with the Epic.
That was always a constant battle on our farm, fighting scours on young calves. I do want to follow up with you on that in just a moment. In the meantime, we do have another caller on the line, and in fact, if you want to call in, you can too. Toll free, the number is 877-731-6733 if you want to join the conversation tonight on our special program. Evelyn's on the line from Illinois. Evelyn, how are you tonight?
I'm fine, sir.
Thank you for calling in. What's your question for our guests?
Well, I have a cat. She's probably about 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It was my son and daughter-in-law's cat. But she come here in '05, and so I have a problem with her, though, this year. She acts like she's got fleas. She scratches and digs constantly, and I haven't found any source or recommendation from the vets or right around here in the DuQuoin area. So I'm wondering, what can I do for her? She doesn't have fleas, and somebody said she probably has dry hide.
What do you think, Jim?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Thank you. But it's very difficult. The things that might be causing her discomfort are numerous. Certainly, it could be related to the moisture in her skin, absolutely. So certainly, your veterinarians may be able to give you some recommendations on some products. It can be very difficult, unfortunately, though, to bathe certain cats. We do have a homeopathic line of products that addresses allergies in animals. That may be an easy way to try to perhaps treat those symptoms if it is something in the air that she's acquired a sensitivity to. These products can be very safely mixed in the water. I think certainly, though, again, asking you why your cat's itching is somewhat akin to asking some people why they get headaches. There's just lots of different reasons for it. So really, if something like this is not working for you, I would probably, again, recommend a full evaluation by your veterinarian.
Okay, sir. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for calling in, Evelyn. Good to hear from you in Illinois. I appreciate that very much. And you can call in too, just like Evelyn did. Toll free, 877-731-6733. And in fact, we also have a prize line available. If you want to check it out, you can go online tonight. Tomlin.com/RFDTV will take you to a special webpage tonight where you can register for possibly winning a prize tonight. So check that out. Tomlin.com/RFDTV. Now we go back to the phones. We have Eddie also in Illinois tonight. Eddie, how are you tonight?
Hi, I'm doing good. Recently I bought the itch and irritation cream for my dog, and I just wanted to say how great it was because my dog got this crazy rash on him, and my son kept petting him, and I told him not to pet him anymore. And as he was petting him, I started seeing a rash started growing on my son's underarm. So I actually took the cream and put it on my son's underarm, and it worked great because it went away, and everything's going so good now.
Interesting. What do you think of that, Jim?
Great, absolutely. As a veterinarian, I'm prevented to make any recommendations as far as his son, so I'm going to leave that up to him.
But we're absolutely delighted it worked well for the pet. And we know very well that as pets become much more part of our families, that the interaction, both in positive and sometimes in negative ways, that the sharing between pets and their owners sometimes extends beyond just the pets and the good part, and sometimes it means sharing a few rashes and things too. So I'm glad it all worked out for you.
Well, Eddie, thanks for calling in. Good to hear from you. I appreciate that very much. Is that a common problem, Eric, with rashes like that on dogs?
It's very uncommon, let's say statistically uncommon, to have anything transfer from a dog or a cat or a horse or a calf to the human. There aren't very many things that transfer across like that. It is common for dogs and cats to have skin rashes, to have allergic reactions. Maybe more common than it was 10 or 15 years ago. And we don't know really whether that's an increase in incidence of the problem or because they've become such a part of our families that we're just paying a lot more attention to them. But it's a real focus area for us in Tomlin. We have the homeopathic line that Dr. Lowe has mentioned. In that side of it, we try to be able to approach it from the whole holistic animal point of view. So we have the topical creams that were talked about. We have the homeopathic products. We try to do things that first do no harm. We're very focused on safety for both the pet and the owners, and then give a chance to have a complete cure.
Very good. Let's go back to the phones one more time. And again, you can call in too, 877-731-6733. Let's go back to the phones right now. We have Paul in Indiana calling in. Thanks for calling, Paul. What's on your mind?
I have a miniature schnauzer who
All right.
is very susceptible or nervous around loud noises. I can swat a fly on my table. He starts shaking. Do you have anything that can help him with these sensitive to noises?
Well, certainly the Relax and Calm product we talked about earlier is certainly going to provide some mild relief to situations like that. It's really based on the severity. So certainly the Relax and Calm, we have another, also in the homeopathic line, a product that will relieve certain stresses and anxieties in these animals. And that might be the first place to start. Certainly I know you're going to make every effort to manage those loud noises to the best of your abilities, but especially say around the 4th of July, New Year's Eve, the start of hunting season, where we know there's going to be a lot of loud noises. Starting a product like the Relax and Calm even a week ahead of time, while he still seems very comfortable, may help alleviate some of that. Once the symptoms are there, or once there's been a lot of concussions of the fireworks on the 4th of July and in the middle of the night, these products just don't seem to work quite as well. So getting ahead of them as far as you can is often the best case.
Well, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it, Paul. And Paul is calling in from Indiana. Eric, I wanted to follow up on Jim's comment a little bit ago. We were talking about scours affecting young calves.
Right.
And he said there's a 3-step process. First step being prevention. I wondered if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, I'm going to repeat an earlier comment. The first part of prevention comes with taking care of the cow, to vaccinate her for the appropriate things so that her colostrum contains the right antibodies. And then, of course, the second and most critical step is making sure that calf gets the colostrum. Nothing we have is going to replace those 2 steps. To supplement that, it can help to have extra immunoglobulins in the gut where those organisms are. Those organisms are in our environment everywhere. You have them, I have them. What happens is the stressed animal becomes more susceptible, and newborns are highly stressed, have a poor ability to deal with that stress, so they're more likely to get disease from those same organisms. And if we can give a little extra support through this egg immunoglobulin concept, then we actually give them a little extra boost to get through those very difficult first days.
We're covering a lot of ground tonight already. If you don't mind, I want to go back to the phone line. You want to take another call?
Good.
All right, let's take another one. We have Lori in Texas. Lori, thanks so much for calling in. Appreciate that. So, what kind of question do you have for our guest here tonight?
Hello, I'm calling from Gainesville, Texas. I work at an animal shelter, and we do encounter, you're speaking in reference to lots of stress, and there is a stressful environment at the shelter, and especially with the felines. We do receive a lot of young kittens in and cats that their immune system is not quite as it should be, and I was wondering if your anxiety and stress products contain any type of amino acid. I have read that a product, an amino acid rather, known as lysine, can help with their immunity and certain respiratory diseases like feline herpes virus, which, of course, unfortunately does run rampant in the shelter.
Yes, ma'am, we do, and that's the feline support product that we do have, the immune support product for cats. That is a lysine supplement, and as Dr. also mentioned earlier, it has been shown that lysine, which is an amino acid, can potentially help alleviate some of the symptoms and signs of these chronic respiratory problems. So again, we both have it both as a powder and as a treat, making it easier for you to choose the best way of administering, but it has been shown to reduce severity of some of these symptoms, to reduce the shedding of these viruses, and perhaps just alleviate some of the replication of these viruses. It's simply a matter of the amino acid functioning to inhibit the replication of the virus you speak of.
Good. Okay. It sounds like a good product to use. Couldn't you sprinkle it on the food possibly?
Absolutely. We do have it in a powder. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. I thank you so much for your time. That sounds like a wonderful product.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lori, great question. Thanks again. And Jim, good response there. Interesting questions we're getting from our viewers and listeners tonight. And you can call into 877-731-6733. We're going to go to a break, and be sure and give us a call if you have a question for our guest tonight. And check out that website too, tomlin.com/RFDTV. You can win a prize if you go to that website. So we'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to Rural America Live with Tomlin. I'm Marlon Bowling here with Dr. Eric Alsop. He's the general manager of Tomlin, and Dr. Jim Lowe, technical services manager of Tomlin, which is part of Medicated Animal Health. And tonight we're talking about Tomlin. Our phone lines are open, and that toll-free number, again, is 877-731-6733. You can call in with your questions. We've had lots of great calls already, and more in the holding pattern, if you will. So let's go back to the phones. We have Lori in Arkansas standing by. How are you, Lori?
Lloyd,
all right. My apologies. All right. How you doing?
Doing fine. How are y'all?
All right. Good to hear from you. What's on your mind? What kind of questions do you have here?
Yes, I would like to know how I can receive this calf scour prevention. I raise baby calves. I buy through the sale barns.
Yep.
And I'd like to find out how to get this medicine to prevent scours for them.
Well, you can certainly go to our website to get additional information, but we sell it through, it is available through many of the farm and ranch stores now as well. But certainly if you need additional information, you can call the website, and there's a customer service number as well, and they can direct you to your nearest dealer as well.
Yeah, they'll sure make sure you get it if you don't have it in the farm stores there in your area. Be sure to give us a call or send us an email from the information there on the website, Lloyd.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. I appreciate that very much. Good to have you with us. And Eric, I wanted to ask you one more time about that. We were talking about the calf scar problem.
Right.
And we talked about the prevention, and you touched on some of the other issues there. But is there anything else before we leave the topic that you need to recommend as far as prevention of diseases in calves or health in the calves here?
Well, I think Jim's covered the steps fairly well. The only thing I would emphasize is that our products are designed to work with nature and with the systems of the animal that are already in place. Not to replace them, but to supplement them. This goes for digestive diseases like scours. It goes for respiratory diseases, all the things that make those first couple weeks of life so difficult for a calf.
Excellent. Well, you want to take another phone call?
Oh, we love the phone calls.
The phone calls have been lit up all night. This is great. Let's go back to the phones and talk with Roger from Nebraska. How are you?
Pretty good.
So what's on your mind? What question have you got for our guests tonight?
Well, I kind of got two, but I've got a yellow lab. Ever since she's been a pup, whenever she got wet, she goes swimming, she gets stiff. And now that she's about 14 years old, she's having a hard time getting up and down. With that, I saw the ad on television where they had some product there for joints and muscles, arthritis. Would that help?
Yes, sir. It certainly might. Again, it's called Joint and Hip Formula, and again, it contains high levels of glucosamine, which we know support the structure or the building blocks of that cartilage. But more importantly, it contains a lot of products that will just help alleviate perhaps some of that discomfort. It's very high in omega-3 fatty acids, which we know are anti-inflammatory in nature. The fact that we use the perna we talked about as our source of chondroitin, that also adds additional omega-3s there. We also added an amino acid called creatine. Creatine basically supplies energy to that muscle and prevents some of that muscle atrophy and maintains the muscle tone that we want to see in those hips. So certainly these products don't work immediately. They require, up to 6 weeks sometimes. So the sooner we get these animals started, the better we can appreciate whether they're providing the benefit. And that's really just step one. We certainly hope that brings some relief, but your veterinarian can also provide you a bunch of other information and perhaps other options as the science of managing these older dogs with arthritis has advanced quite a bit.
Well, Roger, thanks for calling in. I hope that answers your question there, and appreciate that very much. Great questions from our audience tonight. If you want to call in, you can, if you hurry. That toll-free phone number is 877-731-6733 if you'd like to be a part of the program. Eric, a little bit ago we were talking about the Epic line of products for calves. But you also can expand that into use for horses too. You might explain that if you would.
Certainly, and as somebody who owns all of them, the having the right product for horses was very important to me, and it's important to all of us at Tomlin. So the Epic line, the same concept fits for horses as well, in that horses, not only in those first days, but at weaning for young horses, sometimes at the start of training, there are a number of times in life where horses, because we make them such a part of our lives, they go through stress periods where they need a little extra support. So horses of any age going through those stress periods could use the extra support that comes from the probiotics that are going to help in that digestion. What happens in stress sometimes is that you get an imbalance in the gut, and the gut loses its normal flora of bacteria, which are so important for digestion in a horse. Being able to replace those, being able to supplement those with the omega-3 and 6 fatty acids that we know in human nutrition too are so important to overall health balance. This, the Epic Daily Formula for horses is really a blend of those products that are most likely to be needed in times of stress.
So is this something that has just been out on the market just a short time? You might explain the names of the products that our viewers and listeners should be looking for then?
Right, so on the large animals and the calves and horses, we've just introduced the Tomlin line, this special Tomlin line of the Epic products just in the last few months into the farm and feed stores, trying to make them be available where the animal owners can get to them. Again, as we've talked about before, we have another product line that's really meant to have the advice of the veterinarian on it, so it's sold through veterinarians. The Tomlin line is meant to be sold directly to animal owners and the communication directly there. We want to emphasize that because this product line is new, that if anybody has trouble finding them in their local stores, please do get on the website, either send us an email or give us a call, give our customer service a call. We'll find the place where you can get the products. We'll make sure you can get the products that you need for your animals.
And again, if you'd like to call in, you can talk with our guests. We have a toll-free phone number here for you. And again, you can jot it down, 877-731-6733 if you want to call in right now and talk with Jim or with Eric. In fact, we have another call right now. James is calling in from California. James, thank you for calling in. What's your question?
Yeah, I have 3 different breeds of dogs. I have a Timberwolf, a Husky, and a Pit Bull. And I was wondering if maybe the products that you offer for the dogs, the joint health products, would work for all 3.
Oh, I think certainly, again, they're depending on what stage, we can start these products very early. And again, the benefits of these products is they don't only provide nutrients to the cartilage itself, but we're also putting products in there that will actually make the animals feel better. So again, they're certainly formulated for specific sizes. The administration levels are clearly indicated on them. They all have that NASC seal of integrity that we talked about. So absolutely, it's really the first place to start in managing these animals with joint problems.
I think all 3 of those breeds are pretty large breeds that are more prone to joint problems. At our house, we have 3 dogs. We have a German Shepherd, a Border Collie cross, a rescue Border Collie cross that's pretty big, and then a smaller terrier. But all of them get these products just as part of as a daily treat. So we not only don't have to force it on them, but they sit there and ask for them. The important part of that is the earlier you start any of this prevention program, the better. Waiting until you see clinical signs of lameness usually means that these products are only going to support and you're going to need extra help. So I'd really emphasize to people that the earlier in a dog's life that you can start to support the joint health, the better it's going to be.
And a common problem with bigger breeds like that is hip dysplasia, right?
Right.
Is that something that might offer a little bit of help in that regard, do you think?
Yeah, and again, I'm going to emphasize that an earlier start is better.
Okay.
So preventing the damage that can cause the pain that we see as the arthritis of hip dysplasia is a lot better than trying to go in there after that cartilage has been torn up and damaged. Now, a dog with severe conformational hip dysplasia, neither these products nor any others are going to make that dog 100% sound. Sure. or prevent the signs of hip dysplasia. What we're trying to do is keep dogs comfortable, but our more normal dogs can benefit greatly from the preventive aspects that actually help support the joint cartilage and the joint fluids to keep them in a normal state so they can fight off the stresses that those dogs go through.
All right, let's try and squeeze in another call. We have Diana on the line. She's calling in from Texas. Diana, how are you this evening?
Okay, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for calling in. What's your question tonight?
Well, I've been nursing this baby calf, and the mother wouldn't take it. So I brought him home, and I went right away and picked up the colostrum and gave him the colostrum. Okay, so I knew he got his colostrum, and then I started him on the milk, and he still gets the scours.
All right.
And so I called the vet because he got real weak, and they fix up they call it a dummy shot. So I gave him the dummy shot, and he kind of seemed okay, but, you know, he's still weak because he's got the scours. So then I said, well, I better get something for the scours. So I went to Tractor Supply, and I got this medicated for scours and pneumonia. So I fed him that, and after I get him off of that, now I started him back on his Purina, the suckle milk replacer, and he's getting the scours from that. And I've even given him the terramycin scour tablets, and he still has the scours. So I'm at my end's wit of what to do with him because I don't want to lose him, but he's hanging in there. And he was born on August the 31st.
What do you think, Jim?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly, I think for him, certainly something, the scour product might really help him because, again, not only are we going to try to slow down the actual scours themselves, but there are probiotics in there. It certainly sounds like the population in his gut of good bugs is certainly lacking there. So certainly, again, the scour product is going to provide those. It's going to provide some dextrose that can provide him some of that energy he needs. There's an amino acid actually in the product that will help try to heal the intestinal lining itself. That may certainly help his digestion a little bit as well. So certainly that is a place to start, and that can be given for up to 5 days at a time to see if that's going to help him at all. And so I think that would certainly be the place to start. Again, depending on just how bad a start he got, some of these calves can be pretty frustrating to manage long term. You brought up a good point about the medicated feed. We know that the legislation out there is changing regarding some of the veterinary feed directive and whatnot. So products like this, it reminds us, we're going to be looking for these types of products to support these immune systems of these calves versus arbitrarily going to get what we're used to getting, say a medicated feed from the feed store, because there's going to be strict limits on those for a variety of reasons. So yes, I think the calf scour product might be something you want to try because, again, it offers a lot of benefits. It's easy to give. It can be mixed with the milk when you go out there to give him his bottle, and it might be the next step in his treatment to try. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, thanks for the call. And Diana, good to hear from you, and hope that helps with your problem out there. Gentlemen, this has been great to have you talking about the product and all the Tomlin line of products tonight. I'm glad you came in. I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you for having us.
So any quick thought here? You got about 30 seconds here, Eric. What do you think?
Well, I really want to express appreciation for all the callers who called in with very good questions that I think their questions not only were for them, but a great benefit to the other listeners. So we always think we get a lot more benefit from the callers. Again, just a summary from me is that the Vetoquinol Tomlin approach is a holistic approach, trying to think of the whole animal and that relationship with the owner and the veterinarian so that we're addressing health needs from all angles.
All right. Well, Eric Alsop and Jim Lowe, thank you so much. Good to have you with us once again. And as always, we appreciate having the guests on the show. Thank you for joining us on Rural America Live. I want to hope you have a great evening and good night from Rural America's most important network, RFDTV.